So here we are again doing the pattern piece. I tried to do this yesterday, but the wind kept flopping around and I was kind of running out of time. I put the sticky tape on the zippers. What I'm going to do now, and that was one of the things that I was trying to kind of do it in a hurry yesterday and I figured that was stupid. But I'm going to use the snaps to keep it into place, because what happened was, thankfully I drew it with a very light color, but I drew the line, and when I got over here stretched it where I need it, I completely moved that line. So what I'm going to do now is put the other side of the snap on, and that way it stays put, and then I can get it stretched out right. So I got this all marked out everywhere I need to cut. I have no idea. I just dotted lined up here where somewhere there has to be some kind of door. And then along here where the top of this is compared to where the actual cut line is. Whew, I have to say, I'm struggling far more with this back than I was the sides. This is just, it's a humongous piece. I have no clue what I'm doing, so I guess we'll see what happens. But okay, so we learned another little lesson here. I had put this switch right here for the heater, and it was perfectly fine all day. Going in and out, everything was fine, not a problem. But that was barefoot with the split window open. The next day, I needed to get something I left up here, and I came up here and I didn't open that window. I just opened the door and stepped down with a boot and broke my switch in half. So it literally never even got hooked up. So needless to say, $15 later, we got a new switch that I couldn't even possibly put back there anyway, because the new one is shorter. But yeah, $15 later. So with this one, I built this little bracket for it, and what we're going to end up doing is installing it over here, up underneath, out of the way where it can't get hit again. So yeah, lesson learned, do not put a switch there. It would have been better over here, but I noticed when you come down, especially if the split window's open, you tend to lean back, and when you lean back, you push your foot back and it hits right here a lot. But like I said, with the window open and barefoot, I never even came close. But with it closed, you lean back and hit that. And I was so pissed, man. I just came up to get something real quick and snap. But another expensive mistake, but it happens. At least we know. Do not put anything there. Alright, so in the last couple of videos I was installing vents in the switch, and I said I was installing heaters. Well, this is one of the heaters that I'm installing. This is a marine heater core. You have your hoses from your engine that come in, and normally these don't matter, but this one actually says inlet, so we will use that. But the heat from the engine comes in, circulates, the dual fans blow it out, and that's why we ran the vents. This is like the same heater that you would have in an automobile. They works the same way. One of these comes from where your temperature sensor is, and the other one goes into the water pump because it needs vacuum to suck the water through. One of the reasons I chose the location for this so far back where it is because the further away that you run those hoses, the more that water pump's got to work to circulate that water. if you get too far away, you actually have to install another pump to keep this water circulating. So the point was, put it back there, keep it as close as possible so the water didn't have to go that far, and then just run the hoses and blow the hot air, because it's basically just get the hot air inside the boat. Like I said, this is just one of the heaters, and the reason why is this heater is only going to work when the boat is running, when the motor's hot. When the boat's shut off, this ain't going to do nothing for you. So it'd be nice, like I said, if you're running around, you can get the boat nice and warm, so it's warm in the evening, and then, like I said, you're going to have to go to a different source. But what's nice is you have a heater that's working while it's running and it's really not using any more fuel or anything like that. So we're going to get this put up, get it finally wired in. I had to order some of the parts to actually get it hooked up. It's a kind of funky way we have to do this, but we'll show you that pretty soon too. So I think the only thing I'm waiting on now is a T. I have a lot of the parts, but let's go ahead and get it in here. Alright, so what we got going on here, all we have to do is come out of this intake. This is normally where your temperature sensor is. But to get this elbow, this brass elbow, which threads into here, to get that on, we're going to have to put this spacer under the thermostat housing. Because with the regular thermostat housing sitting directly on the motor, there's not enough clearance to get this on and out away from there. There's just not enough height. This is another thing, it's one of those freaking rip-off deals. You can buy a whole freaking housing for 20 bucks. You can buy a cheap Chevrolet housing that has this spacer and a movable nozzle inside for like $12. But no, just a simple spacer is $40. And you have to get the plugs for it, because these are designed to do something with hot rods, pulling different lines. You can't pull, you don't want to pull your heat source for the heater core out of here. You want it out of the manifold. So anyway, yeah, $40 freaking just for this piece. So what we're gonna do, I got that pulled off and cleaned up, and I'm gonna use a gasket on this bottom because it has that lip. This surface is pretty wide. We're gonna RVT right there, and just for backups, I'm gonna get some more of these gaskets just in case. The only RVT I have, unfortunately, I have to bust the bottom to get it out of there because the top's solid. The other thing we had to do is get new bolts to go in that are 1 inch longer than the previous bolts that we had. So to do this, spacer, longer bolts, 2 plugs, just so we can install that elbow to get a line off of there. Sometimes that's what you gotta do. What we'll do now, I'm gonna pull this elbow out and find we got our Teflon tape. I'm gonna go ahead and screw our elbow in. This stuff, you're gonna make a mess, no doubt about it. It doesn't help if you knock it off before you get it on. Whew. Not fun. I'm just making a bigger mess at this point. Okay. So finally we're on to this. I'm going to put a shallow bolt and our long bolt. So the next thing we got to do is this nipple. So right here on the water pump is our return line. And that's where we're going to put this nipple in. Okay, I'm going to attempt to explain. This is our motor. We're working on the front of the motor. To install that heater, the heater core, I put an elbow in here. This is where this valve right here, the valve sensor, this is your sensor. It gives your water temperature. I took it out. I put a 90 in there. I had put a 4-inch nipple here, but I actually ended up having to put a 5-inch. I ran it to that T, so then we put our sensor in, and then I have this shut-off valve, which is the hose that runs to the heater core. And the reason I have that is I want this shut off unless I'm actually going to use it. I don't want the hot water running into the boat, and I also don't want it just constantly having pressure to it when it doesn't need it. All right, on the bottom, like I said, that comes off. That's your heat basically going in. And then you have the return. Now, it goes right in here to the side of the water pump. I put a nipple in there. I couldn't find the right size shut-off valve to this hose. So what I did was just got a female, put 2 nipples in, screwed the valve on, and screwed it together, and then that's the hose going back. But that's how I had to plumb the whole thing. Like I said, the heater itself wasn't that much, but when you start adding up all that plumbing and the hose, it starts to get a little bit of an expensive. Alright, so yeah, definitely not for a looks thing, but this is the first heater we installed. This is a heater core. I ran 2 hoses, one in and one return, out to the engine there. Like I said, this vent is the one I ran up to the helm where I'm sitting. I got a nice vent blowing on me, and then this vent is the one that blows out into the cabin. This vent just blows directly out in here, but it's still heating things up. Like I said, this is one heater, and the reason I wanted this one is, like I said, when you're running. When the boat is running, you're using the water, it's not using anything extra, but it's nice because as you're running, you can heat everything up. And then, like I said, you have some heat blowing up on there, on you too, up there. Like I say, originally I had put this switch over here, but I stepped on it and I broke it off. So what I did was made a little bracket and put it there.